going to be
This
here today.
is the meeting that they should go to.
Oh,
I finally got it printed.
Legitimately, Tyler, if they were in the room for this meeting, I would have brought popcorn.
Yeah. Well, they might be. I mean, you never know.
I do know that they are planning on showing up to a meeting before Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
No, just imagine they didn't say anything and just halfway through his speech show up.
I would not put it past them. In a positive manner, that sounds negative. I would not put it past them because they are,
No, that.
they love showmanship and I do
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
Am I right, Senator Frost?
Yeah, potentially.
I'm gonna keep it like that. The only person that didn't sign that.
I will say there will unfortunately not be a
I think
presentation
There's some
today.
people who might have some problems.
Am I
with
correct in the belief though that they will be here before Thanksgiving break?
Sorry.
You know what? So will I.
Wait, you're gonna be here before Thanksgiving break?
Who would have guessed?
Senators, I have this one.
Guys, senators, what if I told you I'm gonna be here today too?
No way. What are you doing here?
Yes, if he tries to limit his availability to speak.
And would you like a second on any of the
Yes, well, okay, so realistically, it only comes down to if he tries to
No, my
tell the president and that he time constraints, so here's the point of order that.
Okay, thank you.
a couple.
And then it kind of depends, cause
International things.
I would like to
It
hear.
depends on how it goes down.
Yeah, and I'd like to hear an appeal if
If we
that's the
throw down.
case, so.
Yeah, but if, oh yeah. Yeah, right.
What's up?
I'd just like to hear as much as we can from the president today.
I support that.
Okay.
You know what?
It's
fine.
It's fine. You're not the only
So,
Discussion.
How are you feeling today?
My feeling this shit is hot. I don't know why I'm sweating.
You got this, okay?
No, I don't.
Go,
You're lying.
You got it.
students who had
Like as in like Senate, like student government wise or just like
State. Is there any way to?
Oh, I think he's just trying to be friendly.
Since it would be something.
I don't think he speaks much, just kind of concerned.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, looking good.
Yours is a little
It's crumpled, but that's also because I got the, I need to shake it.
Oh,
You're always making.
I could make another one, but like,
Is it so?
it's, I don't know,
Barely is it.
it's not that deep. If I have a, in a brief Google search, it looks like their equivalent of students who entered is their own.
Dude, they spelled it.
Of course. Of course.
He's spelling
Hey,
wrong.
email too, let's see if,
Game knows game.
station.
It's to switch the.
Guess whose financial advisor has not emailed them back yet? Fine. We're good at work study. Fine.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen it. But no, on Zoom. It's
yes, so with that, I mentioned in that
I heard his voice,
like
but I
simple
saw,
things like
you know,
changing the
his
commas
hair.
to semicolons.
Lack of hair.
I need to
Make
talk
it
to
into
my
continuous
boss.
statement rather
Looks
than
good.
separating clauses like that. Which I think is grammatically how it should be.
some time to.
That's just resolution.
Yeah.
All the paperwork, all the things.
Yeah, so that's the only thing, like, should I even bring it up, or, cause that's the only reason why I would want to postpone this.
You actually like formatting.
It might be.
Okay.
I would love to. I would.
So that's, so.
I'm sure I've already double back
The integer limit for your reasons. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I just didn't know if that would.
You're Indian?
In that case, I'm
No, I've
I'm
still
in
got
favor
two.
of it. Senator
I got an AV
Johnson,
job
do you
here.
need, would you like more time to add more stuff to this? Or are you in favor of trying to get this through?
My expectations that it would be more.
This is the first one.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, cool, I'll probably motion to postpone, so.
And then any sort of,
You sent me.
Is it addition, subtraction, hold on.
here's the thing, the paper sucks.
So mention.
Okay, yeah.
I also trashed.
You gotta figure out that one. We kind of wanted to, if at all possible, this meeting,
The trash has always been weird to me.
Oh,
whether or not he would I'll still be here.
Yeah.
I was hoping that.
Join the army. And it's going to live in the same space as your dad.
No problem. Change people might give a short. Set up.
Yeah.
I'm sure you shoot it a lot.
I was a little bit of that, to answer your point.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I'll be motioning to postpone.
I've been super busy this month. Legacy.
I'd say that. Yeah.
So I thought he doesn't even suggest you just do government.
If you want to just. This is a
Alright, that's it, I'm going.
Maybe this like should be a resolution for the work study. Because I feel like it's worth fighting.
Here's the thing. Is a resolution going on like
you do with
workers pay?
Which is a task force and you'll task force.
Just get the votes like I did.
No.
To my
You only
computer.
slide the skills like.
Respect.
We're even trying to adjust it for inflation. You gotta do both.
Or person who makes choices.
Of course, everybody's gonna increase it. I mean, it's still being put down with the person. I like just have like a minimum wage.
If I were to do it, I would do it based off of. I normally do it that way.
Yeah. I guess it would be up to like. They don't have to listen.
Sorry.
Do we have a plan
Oh, that's nice.
to President Hitch's presentation at all? Because I'd like to see whatever he has to say. I'd like to hear it all, so.
Because I think you know what, Eddie, I did it.
I mean, technically, it's, there's no authority to limit a speaker like that unless it's voted on by the assembly. So technically, that's already out.
No, you work here as a
I mean, it's more of a, like, a recommendation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how
Okay.
that's checked off.
So in the consent agenda, is there approval of the consent?
As a non-citizen.
Consent, I'll say I dissent.
Upwards of 40 hours. International students, you are hard capped, actually help with this. You can't work more than 40 hours. That's just not a livable wage.
Okay.
Especially.
You're writing up a draft.
I think that's.
Oh,
Why can't I just flirt with my own voice?
I don't know, I don't
Some weird bureaucracy there. Thank you. Federal government.
I'm hanging this on my bench.
Taxes.
They still have to pay taxes.
This is what he said. Teams.
Hello and welcome everybody to the 93rd Student Government meeting for November 5th, 2025. This meeting is being conducted in person in CSU 238. It's currently 4:01 p.m. and I call this meeting in order. We would like to begin first with our land recognition statement. Student government acknowledges that we live, work, and learn in the homeland of the Dakota people, whose language frames our institution's name, Minnesota State University, Mankato. We shall begin with our roll call now. Senator Livingston. Senator Hyber. Senator Kabad. Senator Dietrich.
Here.
Senator Morris. Zoom. Senator Reyes. Senator Nguyen. Senator Anderson.
Here.
Senator Zelmer.
Present.
Senator Cummings.
Present.
Senator Ide.
Present.
Senator Hiluka.
Present.
Senator Isaac. Senator Knauer.
Here.
Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Atkinson.
Here.
Senator Stokes.
Present.
Senator Hillstead.
Present.
Senator Schoen.
Here.
Senator Liu.
Here.
Senator Frost.
Here.
Senator Wickersham. Vice President Catley,
Here.
President Corin,
Present.
and Speaker Tapa. All right. Are there any amendments or dissent for the consent agenda? Yes, Senator Hiluka.
Motion to amend the consent agenda to allow presentations to be extended to 15 minutes so President Inch can have more time to speak today.
Any seconds? Any dissents? All right. We move forward for a discussion. Why you think that this is necessary? Yes, Senator Hiluka.
Yeah, I'd just like to have every opportunity or provide every opportunity to the university president to give any thoughts that he has for us. I'm not exactly sure what the nature of his presentation is going to be about today, and I figure he probably has a lot that he'd like to discuss with us. As the representatives of the student body, I think it's our obligation to hear everything that he has to speak.
Any other points of discussion? Yes, Senator Atkinson.
1 second, please. So I know that typically presentations, especially for our different, especially for our Dean of the Day, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but they're typically around 10 minutes, right? I just don't think that we should be giving Senator Inch any more time unless he really needs it.
All right. Any other points of discussion? Yes, Senator.
I believe President Inch deserves all the time and has carved out a large part of his very important schedule for us. And I believe I agree with Senator Hiluka on letting him state all he needs to present today.
Senator Hyde.
It's not a common occurrence that President Inch can come here and use his very, very limited time to speak in front of all of us. So I call this a question.
Second.
Any dissent? All right. All those in favor of the amendment to increase the time from 10 minutes to 15 minutes, please raise your black card. All those who disagree? All right. Seeing that, our presentation for today shall be for 15 minutes for President Inch. Thank you very much. Are there any other amendments or dissent for the consent agenda? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please raise your black cards. All those who disagree. All right, our consent agenda clearly passes. We move forward with our presentation for President Inch. I'd like to request him to please come forward towards the podium. Please welcome him with a loud applause.
Well, thank you for the conversation about time. And while there are a lot of things on my agenda every day, this is one of the most important. And so, as I've told you, President, I'm happy to come and visit whenever you think there are things that we need to be talking about. And I always want to be able to balance the things that I want to let you know about and give you a state of the university and what's happening. But that has to be tempered against questions that you have. So I want to make sure that we reserve sufficient time to have questions answered, because there are topics other than what I have here that you may want to know about. So I'll just give you the overview of what I thought I would chat about, and then if there's anything you want to drop or something you want to add, I'm good with that. I wanted to give a brief overview about the HLC accreditation visit that wrapped up 2 weeks ago. Some of you participated in that. Thank you for that. I was going to talk about our 2 capital campaigns, our 2 large building projects. I wanted to talk a little bit about campus budget and budget discussions and where those are, and what the process looks like from here. And then open it up for questions. Fair enough? Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation from your president. The HLC accreditation visit wrapped up 2 weeks ago, and the process goes that they give us a rough draft the next week that was just their initial observations and recommendations. We get to fact check that draft, which happened last week, to make sure that they got names right, titles right, organizational symbols and ideas correct, that what they had for data was accurately portrayed in the document. That's all the input that we get to provide until we get the final document, which will be in the spring sometime. And in the spring document, they will have the recommendations for the campus. We get to argue it, rebut it, or whatever we choose to do. Regional accreditation is very important because it's the standards by which we try to achieve a quality education. And in the draft document we have, they lauded what we were able to do on this campus. They were impressed with the level of engagement that our students have with our faculty and our staff. They were impressed with just walking in the library and seeing teams working there late at night. I mean, that the amount of engagement on this campus is different than you might find on a lot of other campuses, and that was noted. They talked about the high level of rigor in the curriculum, which is why you work as hard as you do and have teams in the evening. But they talked about genuinely about how well the student government, faculty, staff, government, and meet and confers, how well these pieces work together to create a university that is functioning very well. There are two things that are likely to be in the final report that they're going to ask us to do. One is they're going to ask us to have a stronger assessment of our programs and our courses. They can see what we have assessed. What they didn't see was how we use the data we collect to improve it. So they want to see continuous quality improvement. That's reasonable. The second is that since the pandemic, we've not gotten back onto a regular program review schedule where programs are reviewed, we gather data, and then we use that to inform improvements in the programs. Also both reasonable. It went well. It was a good visit. Second thing I wanted to talk about were the two capital campaigns that are underway. The first one, which you're very familiar with, is Armstrong Hall. We are asking the legislature to allow us to bond for $97 million, which is the largest project that our system has ever taken on, and certainly the largest project of this campus. But it is needed. And for all of the legislators that have shown concern about, well, you know, can't you make it a smaller building? Not really, because we're already programming 150,000 square feet. It is the workhorse of our campus. And then it's, well, can you phase it? I'm not sure how you would do that, right? We build the first floor and then wait, and then where do you put people in the interim? What I do know is that the building is not only showing its age, it's beginning to fail. This is not an option to wait another decade to see what we can work out with the legislature, and the costs do not go down with time. Originally, as I think I've shared in our meet and confers and with your leadership, we were not scheduled to be on a bonding tour this year. We were not scheduled to have any visits this year, and part of that had to wrap up with, were wrapped up with what they perceived to be a campus a little out of control and free speech issues that you're aware of. We worked toward that. We ended up getting a visit from the governor's office, MMB, and the House Bonding Committee. All came in separate meetings to come and look at Armstrong and to assess our proposal. Those meetings went well. There's some concern among the representatives that were here that maybe the campus has gotten, you know, too, I'm going to say liberal or pushing too far one way or not the other. And that came up a little bit, but for the most part, they just balk at the price tag. It's expensive. I do want to say thank you, though, to your president, because he and other students came to these visits and talked about what life was like in Armstrong and why it was not the best kind of learning environment and why we need to be able to provide high quality learning environments if we want our students to succeed at the rate our students succeed. That's important. So that's ongoing. There will be an ask that I will have of you all when we get closer to the session. When we get closer to the session, we'll need to start thinking about how we want to message. I met with both members of our regional state delegation, Representative Frederick and Senator Frentz, asking about what our strategy needs to be now. And we have a very engaged student body and what would be a reasonable ask of the student body. And we're designing what that could look like and points of engagement that would be important. The key is at the beginning of the legislative session, we need to make our ask clear and the priority for it. And then during the last month of the legislative session, when they're beginning to put the bonding bill together, I want to make sure that we are clearly on top of that docket. We're also asking the governor's office to weigh in to support this effort. He has said he would in the past. I think he will. I think he recognizes the centrality of this building and what the current condition is that does not allow for the kind of education that our students ought to have or the ways our teachers ought to be able to teach. The second large project that we're working on is not, we don't ask for state funding for it. This one is entirely privately designed and developed, is a Southside Development Project to turn the south 150 acres into an engagement zone that's designed to invite community, engage families and kids, to have camps, to be able to do things like statewide track meets or festivals or carnivals, be able to have concert series. That will be there'll be 3 components of that in the first phase. which is supposed to be open by 2029. One is a residence hall that will have mixed-use retail and support facilities, including outward-facing clinics and student health. One will be a stadium to replace Blakesley that will allow us to program more events in there. And the goal there, with 115 programmed events per year, is that we'll begin to spin off some revenue that comes back to the campus to offset some of the other costs that are difficult for us to offset now. We need alternative revenues, what I'll tell you in a minute. The third component is a refresh of the track that will include some permanent seating that will allow us to host larger events in the summer where the campus is largely dormant. And there are opportunities for revenue generation in the summer that we're not able to take advantage of now because we don't have the facilities there to support competitions or a lot of different kinds of camps that are planned to go there. Third thing is we're now beginning to engage in our budget discussions for next year. And as you know, budgets are tight. This year, the state reduced the allocation to the Min-State system by 3.5%, which translated to about 3.5% for us. In addition to that, some of the things that we had from the last biennial budget, one of which was was tuition support, the tuition freeze dollars, that was reduced significantly. And so the question is now, how do we want to move forward? This year, we have a balanced budget. In fact, we're about $500,000 to the good. But that was done through cuts, and that was done by tightening belts and delaying searches and delaying hiring people. That is not a long-term strategy. You cannot cut your way to prosperity. You cannot cut your way to success. All you're doing is diluting what are good programs. You can start hacking away at them and have mediocre programs. I don't want to do that. So we'll have to make strategic choices, which is what's going to face us in the coming year. In the coming year, we have an option just to freeze current funding levels for each division where they are now, because it does not look like the funding that we're going to get, the revenue that we're going to get, is going to change much, if any, in the next year. So we're assuming we're going to move forward at the same revenue levels that we have now. For the most part, we only have two sources of revenue. We have what the state allocation is, and we have what we get in student tuition. What we are working toward doing is changing the allocation. We're advocating for a change in the way the system allocates because it does not advantage large institutions that generate a lot of revenue. It disadvantages those because we end up giving away resources to campuses that struggle with enrollment and struggle with maintaining viability. The second thing we're asking is change the allocation model and then give us some freedom to identify and develop alternative revenue generation streams. One will be the Southside development, and we need to have some freedom to do that and put retail in at the first floor and be able to run public events there that we can charge rent fees for. The other piece there is we need some way to begin to try to develop a stronger online presence for students that don't have physical access to be able to come to campus and don't have and it might not be in state, but they may have credits from us, but have not finished their program. The challenges there is 2 years ago, the state passed a law that we're not allowed to work with for-profit program managers, so organizations that have the ability to have national presence with online programming. We're not allowed to work with them. St. Cloud's going to be the last that's allowed to work with them, and then they'll phase out over the next couple of years. We think there ought to be an opportunity to do that because otherwise doing very big scale online programs, which we have the capability of doing, we've shown that with our online model that we've had for several years, to be able to take that to scale and take that nationally requires a significant investment that would be difficult for us to put in all at once where there are already vendors that could help us do that. What we are doing though, since the law only applies to 4 credit programs, is we are developing not-for-credit programs that are online working with Coursera. The first one that we have launched as a test is doing well. It had 200 students in it the last I checked. So that's good. So we're asking to be able to do that. The reason this becomes important is the state allocation is not changing, and we're modeling it what it looks like if tuition doesn't change. The cost implications that we need to figure out how we want to manage them going into this next year is we'll have to accommodate the contract settlements, which they're not completely done yet. We're still getting ratification of some of the bargaining units, but we're projecting it's going to be about a 4.5% increase in overall labor costs across the campus. Plus there'll be an increase in benefits, healthcare costs have gone up. And we know that inflation, if it just sticks around 3%, these together we think are going to add another $5 to $6 million in what our costs are going to be. And so the question for each of our unit leaders is I've asked them to give me what they need to do to accomplish a balanced budget with no new resources moving into the next year, and what that's going to look like, and what are the choices that are going to have to be made. In the long term, I think we need to become less dependent on the state allocation. I think we need to be more dependent on running this as an entity that can generate revenue from a community that's supportive of us and a community that looks for ways to partner. Are there ways we can do something that will help us become more independently successful without waiting to see what happens with state budgets? Because the next biennium is projected to be $5 or $6 billion in the hole, which could translate to another 5% reduction for the Mid-State system. Those are the things I worry about. Last thing I'll leave you with, and it's what I left the teams that came to campus to talk to us about Armstrong. There's an awful lot of good here. Our students are successful. There's a lot of energy on this campus. We're predominantly face-to-face because we want to work with each other in environments where we can learn from each other. We can be in an environment where we can chain ideas off one another. There's a reason our library is full when it's full. There's a reason the Gateway is up and running as well as it is. There's a reason that businesses want to work here with our students and provide opportunities. They move here because of us. Their question to me is, what are you going to do to entice your students to stay here, because we want to employ all of them? That's our opportunity. This campus generates almost $1 billion into the regional economy every single year. That is a benefit to everybody that lives here. That's a benefit to Southern Minnesota. That is something that I don't think you risk. I think we retain the model and the culture and the approach and the dynamism that this campus has. That's why if Armstrong has to go offline because of a major system failure, that's devastating to a campus like this. You all, well, some of you lived through, you all lived through it at some point. You can't just flip a switch and say we will go online and it will be just as good as if we were working together, because it's not. I think that's what the fight is to make sure that we have the infrastructure that we need, the resources that we need to support the education that we're able to provide that is noted in the HLC report. It's exemplary. That's what we ought to be doing for our state. That's what we ought to be doing for our families and each other. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Senator Hillstead, followed by Senator Zellmer, followed by Senator Atkinson. Let me note it down. All right, we'll begin with Senator Hillstead.
So regarding the Armstrong project, is there any chances we could host some student events where we could go give personal testimonies to, say, the state legislator about our experiences with Armstrong in order for us to get support and traction behind this project?
Yes, in fact, I'll be working with your leadership and our comms and marketing department about how we want to move our advocacy forward. One of the things that our legislators recommended is that, we have students from all the different legislative districts in the state. And they said, if you have a student that's in a legislative district, wherever, and they were to write a personal letter saying, this is how it's impacted me and I'm a voter for you, help us, right? And then when we do our bonding visits, we'll take students with us, because students ought to be hearing that. But that's a good idea. So let me think about how that works in an overall strategy, because I think we need more voices. The other voices that I think they need to hear from is the community around us, because they're already concerned if we don't have a building and we're not able to attract students here because the building is not a great place to study and learn, or if it goes offline, those businesses are impacted. And they think some of the legislators will pay a lot of attention to business leaders saying, what are you all doing? So I think there's a several-pronged strategy, and I'll put that in my hopper.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Zellmer.
Thanks for coming and speaking with us today, President Inch. I was wondering, you were talking about the different revenue streams. What % revenue do we make off of student tuition?
Student tuition is 63% of our revenue. Now, you're probably going to note that there is legislative language that says the state is supposed to cover the 60% and students are supposed to cover 40%. We do press that home regularly. Now, what they will respond is that, well, for the system, we provide 60%, not for the individual campus. To which I respond is then how come we end up at the bottom end of that stick? I mean, we receive the least per student of any of the other campuses. That needs to be fixed. That's the change we're working for in the allocation model.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Atkinson.
So I know you talked about having some larger events during the summer in the Southside Development Center.
Yeah.
With the lack of students on campus, how are you planning on employing students to take care of the Southside Development Center over the summer?
Well, there's several ways, but one is we have enough students here to be able to do quite a few things like camps and that. And I think it just comes down to being able to get the word out early for those that want to have summer work that would carry them through the summer. The project itself, the management of the facility is going to require 22 people be hired. Now, my view, and I'll give you why, is if those are students, that would be terrific. If not, we go out on the market and we try to hire. But the design for the facility is 22 permanent positions that will run it. We're working with one person that wants retail space that will open up their very first physical store there, but they only want to work with students and have students run it so they will learn how to be, they want them to learn every aspect from manufacture to supply chain to marketing to running a store. And so they're working with us about how we might be able to implement that. I think there's some creative ways to do it, but yeah, we'll have to have labor to do it if we're able to bring on more camps. I mean, we're working with Minnesota Zoo to start zoo camps up, and for example, and their goal there is to teach our students how to run nature camps and zoo camps and make this a preeminent nature camp in the country. And I just think there are opportunities for students to tap into that and get a very unique education working with people that are top of their field. So we'll see what that looks like as we get there. My hope is we're able to staff up with students who want summer work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Nguyen?
Yeah, so as for like generating revenues, I think we have a lot of potential here, especially considering that a lot of people here is capable of working, and I think we want a lot of people here also want jobs. I don't know what the rules or laws is, but like, is it possible for us to kind of like outsource some of our equipment and labs and kind of like maybe give people work experience, but also use some more equipment to generate products or money.
Yes, and yes, we do that already, but it's not at scale the way we could. And so the notion with the Southside development is there's a lot of rental there. This campus will run about 24 things that are ours. The other 100 or so things are outside entities that will pay fees to come in, and then we get to collect, cut off any retail sales that happen during those. And so we looked at the models that other universities have done, and that the models that even professional organizations have done, and what kind of revenue streams can you get. And even Winona was telling me just the rental for the boxes, the suites at their football stadium, which is an old football stadium, but it has some closed off spaces. They rent those 12 months. And that is the biggest single source of revenue for them in that stadium complex, even more so than what they get in tickets. So yeah, there are some real opportunities there, and we'll be tapping into some of our students' ideas about how we might do that. There was even one person thought we could run the nation's largest esports tournament there. And, because it'll have the big screens and it'll have all the places where you can have strategy sessions and team breakouts. I thought that was a curious but really good idea.
Sorry, because I knew that we have like a semiconductor labs.
Yep.
That people like actually making wafers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe we could also kind of like, make some wafers and maybe, export.
I think that's a good idea too. Yeah, there are opportunities like that, and we'll need to have a broader conversation. We have more unlimited time to think about ways that we might be able to market things. There are organizations, well, there are universities that will work with students and faculty to develop a patent on a product, something like that. And then while the student or the faculty retains the patent, that the university gets a share.
Thank you. Vice President Kafle.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. Since our university is giving so much to state, be it in terms of our revenue or our alums going and working in different companies, what is our strategies to get more funding from state so we do not have to increase tuition again next year?
We are working with our state legislature to try and accomplish that. And it's one of the advantages and disadvantages of being in the system is the system will put all of its weight behind increasing MnState's allocation from the state. And then it goes through an allocation model and comes to us. I think we do pretty well at the state level. What I don't like is what we do with the resources once they hit us. I think we ought to make it more equitable, which you and I have talked about how resources get channeled. With the state itself, here's my argument is this, and what I've been talking to our legislators about. 85% of our students will stay in this state for at least 5 years into their career. For 5 years in their career, we're powering the workforce. This campus produces 1/3 of all the baccalaureate degrees in our system. You know, this is a powerful economic engine. And if you think about it, when our students choose to stay here, they buy homes here, they start families here, they become part of stable communities and stable economies. When you do that, it's a long-term recipe for successfully growing the state, diversifying the state, and enabling the state to be successful and cutting-edge long-term. This state has a reputation for being incredibly successful in technology, incredibly successful in engineering, in healthcare, and the things that you know that we are good at. We should not endanger those to the point where the state becomes a desert of talent. And if you don't invest in education, that's where you end up in the long term. And you can look at other states where that's happening. So I don't think we'll let it happen here.
Thank you. Senator Dietrich.
Thank you so much for joining us today, President Inch. I wanted to talk more about the allocation model of the MnState system. Although I want to say that last week, Tim Hubish of the of the Board of Trustees for the MnState system was visiting my class as a guest speaker. And after class, I waited to speak to him because I wanted to talk about the current inequity of the allocation of the MnState system. And he is a graduate of this university. He was once a vice president of student government, although it wasn't student government at the time. So it's not that he doesn't love this university, but I need him and all of the other trustees and the chancellor to hear us in a more significant way than they are now. So I shared this with him and he was very understanding. He was very appreciative that I would share, my concerns with him. He was really fantastic that way. But I feel like we need to go further with this. This is crazy to me that we are getting so much less than some of these other colleges and universities, especially when you have St. Cloud, which long-term is not a viable university. And it's clear to absolutely everyone that that is the case. And yet we are continuing to prop it up with allocation funds that could go to our institution to make us even better off. And my question to you is, how would you recommend that we as students of this university communicate that to the Board of Trustees and the Chancellor?
Great question. I think you continue to argue that it is not equitable the way it is set up now. And I'll give you the exact evidence that you can look at, because if they tell you that Inch has it wrong or all this, I'll tell you exactly where to look. If you go to the MnState website and you look at the finance pages, on the finance pages, there will be a tab that says allocation. And when you open that tab up, there's a spreadsheet that has every campus on it. And it'll show you how much every campus gets, okay? And it will look and accurately like we get the most. We get $62 million. That's true. We're also more than twice the size of the next, right? So it's not surprising we would get the most. If you go to the very last tab on that spreadsheet, very last tab is called the buy down. Now, I'm going to use the word wrong, but it's what it feels like to me. What I tell people is we pay a higher tax than anybody. And here's what they try to do. And I understand why, right? We have 33 institutions and 54 campuses that the system tries to support, of which St. Cloud is one and a whole bunch of two-year colleges. Those campuses can't all make it on their own. They need support because some of them don't have high enrollment. Others don't have a lot of, or they charge lower tuition. They struggle making it on their own. So what happens is the money that you buy down, and so we have a percentage at 62 or 63%. For every dollar of tuition we bring in, we give back 63 cents of the state allocation, right? So as long as you're trying to sustain that big of an operation with limited resources, the larger revenue producing campuses pay a pretty large fee. My advocacy has been to get rid of it. You know, campuses need to make it on their own. And all the, you know, or there are other choices we can make too. But I think you keep, for me, the average in the system is an allocation, a state allocation of about 6,200, 6,250 per full-time equivalent student. But ours is 4,500. That difference, it does not feel right. So I think you keep pushing on it.
Thank you. Senator Ide?
Yeah, thank you. So, according to the MNSU website and part of the archives, part of the reason that Gage Towers was demolished was due to a poor location. It was split from the rest of the campus with a very busy county road. And a lot of the students felt that. They said that they didn't really like the location because it felt like they were split across from the rest of the campus. And there, with the new construction of a residence hall near, I believe it's Blakesley Stadium, we run into some.
Stadium in Warren, but yeah.
Yes, I apologize. We run into some of those same issues that Gage Towers did. Was this in any of the discussion processes for choosing the location?
Regularly. The most important part of the discussion process is I need revenue generation there in order to bring back 4 or 5 million to the campus each year. So here are the pieces. We also talked to the students out at Stadium because Stadium Heights has a similar issue. And there are people, the majority of our students live off campus that are further than a mile out. Well, with about 3/4 of a mile to plus. And we talked with them about how onerous is it for you to be able to get to campus, even if you're living in a house that might be a mile off campus. And then we also talked to the city, which you probably saw in your research, published a study in June about what the housing challenges are going to look like in the city over the next 10 years. And over the next 10 years, the expectation is that the city is going to be short 6,500 units for the population, which is why if you drive around, there are a lot of housing developments that are going up trying to hit the 6,500. They're not going to make it. So the expectation is that those houses and apartments that are further and further off campus, in order for people to find affordable housing, will see those rents go up significantly. That's one of the reasons that U Square just built a very large complex there, because they're expecting that as the retail market goes up and the rentals go up for students, finding good, close housing that's at a reasonable price close to campus becomes harder. So we also talked to the students that are moving in there and have lived across Warren to see how onerous that was. And yeah, they don't like having to cross the street if they don't have to, if the other residence halls have spaces. But for the most part, they'd rather live closer to campus than not. What they've asked for, though, is having kitchens in the units that allow them not to have to travel over to the dining hall. They can just cook their own there, and they've asked for a grocery in the building. So those are the directions we're going, and the reason we're putting it there largely is so that we can kickstart some of the retail.
Thank you.
We have Senator Hiluka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for your presentation. I have a sort of two-piece question for you. It's my understanding that some of the affected areas outlined as part of the Future State project and the development of the south side of campus are currently under loan repayment with direct funding from the campus recreation fees. And from my perspective as a member of the Campus Recreation Fee Advisory Committee, there seems to be a bit of a missing link in including members of campus recreation and athletics departments in the conversations that may potentially directly affect their daily processes. Could you clarify for us what the university's current plans are for the funding of the maintenance of the project, the proposed facilities and recreation areas? And can you provide any information about efforts to include campus recreation and athletics departments in these project discussions?
Well, campus recreation and athletics have been part of every focus group that we've run, and there've been 40 of them or so. So their voice has been pretty clear. Our focus right now is phase one, which is the complex, and then we'll have to turn our attention to phase two. Phase one, the two buildings and the plaza space will be self-supporting off of the revenue that they bring in. So they have to be able to generate sufficient to continue their own maintenance and operations. And that's built into the phase one projects. Phase two gets to be interesting. So the phase two, and this comes out of work that I've done with the student government over the last 2 years, is what would students like to see? So there were things such as turfing the infield of the track. There are things about creating better accessibility. At the time, we were talking about rugby and soccer for the practice fields that are further south. There was a lot of impetus around creating a better and safer fitness trail that goes around that could be used in the winter for like cross-country skiing. And there was a lot of interest in building in the potential for ice sheets in the winter, basketball or soccer in the spring or the summer. But you're right now, until we get the first part done, the next part is going to be what is the student level of interest and engagement, and we'll also work with external funders that might be interested in taking up some of those projects. The goal is to convert all of that space, which does not receive a ton of use, to convert that space into something that is more engaging, that is more tailored to what our students need now and what our community could use more. And I'll give you the example that I thought was stunning. Last year, in the middle of June, after schools let out, this town does not have enough youth sports facilities or areas. And so there are wait lists and scheduling challenges getting people on a baseball diamond. We have 2 lit baseball diamonds, that don't get used much. And I took our steering committee out there, which was all community members and a student. And you look out over 150 acres, there's only one person in the middle of the day, after school let out, only one person. He was the guy mowing the lawn. We maintain it now at a significant cost for not a lot of use, particularly in the summer. We can do better with that. But I think, you're right. Is at the point where we know we can go forward with the first phase, then we turn our attention to what is the interest and what is the program for the second phase. But I would like, as I mentioned, I'd like to see us run camps like nature camps that use our rec and fitness folks, which was kind of their idea about moving forward that way, about how is it we could really build out something that would be unique.
Thank you. Senator Stokes.
Hi, thank you so much for coming, and I really appreciate your time.
Sure.
On April 22nd of the last school year, during a student government meeting and conversation discussing program future, the Provost Hood mentioned that if programs were to be cut, students would be allowed to still progress in their current majors, meaning they could still graduate with that degree. But no new students may join. With the recent retrenchments, several programs now only have 1 or 2 professors supporting these majors. How do you personally envision that the retrenchment would affect these students enrolled in these programs?
Question I asked the provost. So first, none of the professors go away this year. It would only affect next year. And 3 of them, it's 3 years out, right? So they would continue. In fact, I had the conversation today about program completion in a program that had been cut. The provost assures me, and even in the conversation today, is we have a 3-year window to teach out with existing faculty in one of the areas and have sufficient capacity in the others in order to be able to cover what the student needs are going to be.
Thank you.
Senator Wickersham.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier how, as we all know, that the state has made a commitment to funding the Min-State system at about 60%. And you said that we don't actually get that much.
This campus doesn't.
Yes. Yeah. Does the system as a whole receive 60%?
They will tell you that they're pretty close. They're about 55%.
Thank you, President. Okay. Senator Frost.
Thank you, President, for coming today. I very much appreciate you being here. One of the questions I have is, do you really believe that the new stadium is the appropriate target for a $60 million expenditure while Armstrong Hall is actively crumbling, as we've talked about? Because I'm sure you'll say that the donors took this wanted to undertake this project. And if that is the case, is it fair to say that the high dollar donors of this university don't care about our education to the degree that they should?
Nope, I don't think you can say they don't care. I don't think they would invest anything if they did care. I'll give you an example. There was a couple, and this just closed, so they wanted to donate an apartment building worth about $8 million. But, you know, one of the couple was, well, I don't want it to go to a stadium. I want it to go to academics. And the other donor was, but I'm going to put it towards something that is around youth and activity and healthy well-being. So they split the donation. That happens all the time. And I think even the donors for the case for the stadium have contributed, I don't want to say equal, but pretty close to programs, scholarships, and other pieces that go on campus. So it'd be hard to say that they don't care because they've already invested there. They want to do something additional. And I got to tell you, just there is a sense that for a classroom building, there is a belief among many that that is a responsibility of the state. We're a state institution. The state created us. We existed by state charter, that the state has a responsibility, and there's a sense that they don't want to let the state off of providing what they're obligated to provide.
Thank you. Senator Cummings.
Thank you, like everyone said, for being here today. So I'm heavily involved within agriculture on the MNSU campus. I'm wondering if any of the new infrastructure part of the Future State project will accommodate the needs for agriculture.
Very good, and yes. So part of it's an integrated piece. As you know, we just received a pretty large land offer. So we several, I don't know, it's 120 plus acres or something that is earmarked for the ag program. We also have access to South Central's land, which is a little bit closer, but that's part of why the partnership will work. But the piece that's going to be interesting is our goal is to bring in, as part of the programming, a farmer's market, and our nutrition department is interested in working with farmers market to be able to teach students a couple things. How do you live and grow local around sustainability issues, and how do you have healthier diets? And doing it in front of Residence Hall that will have kitchenettes in it is pretty significant, just to be able to uplift what healthy eating could look like when you do kind of farm to fork. The other piece that's going to be interesting with that is what our nutrition folks told me is for international students that often have homesick hungry because they're not able to eat what they're used to or have the comfort food they grew up with. They said, we can show them how to use local produce and what's easily available here to create meals that would be more appropriate for them, not only culturally, but give them a sense of comfort food. So this was designed in part, and then Region 9, that we're working on a grant with them, they're interested in having a farm patch there that could be used as a demonstration garden. So those are all part of it, and the design really is, how do you better serve your larger community? How do you better serve this campus?
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? All those who wish to ask questions, please raise your placard. I'll note down your names real quick. All right. Senator Heluka, followed by Senator Wickersham, followed by President Calderon, followed by Senator Frost. Is that all? Right, these will be our final questions. Senator Heluka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. President, I have a handout pamphlet related to the Future State project with me here. And I was just wondering if you could speak on what phase the Future State project is actually in as of current, and what the timeline will be for finalizing the plans. And if you could also additionally clarify whether the information available on the university website and in this pamphlet is the most up-to-date information. And if it isn't, is there a plan to make the most current plans available to the students of the university?
Great questions and a complex question. The most up-to-date is what's on the website. That was produced, 7 months ago to make the case statement. We're in what's called the public phase of the campaign. So the first year was working to see if this is feasible and to make sure that we were able to have the largest interested donors signed up. Because if last time we tried to raise money for this project, we raised $250,000 and went public, and that's the most we ever raised. So that wouldn't do it. And so we're in phase 2. The goal is to have groundbreaking in spring 2027. And the doors open in fall 2029. And that timeline is in that brochure, but it's also what's on the website. There is a reason to have such an accelerated timeline, is that we lose the major gift out of this, goes away after 2029 if we haven't spent it. And what was the other question you asked?
Let me just look again for you.
I didn't write them down.
Yeah, so my questions were just to clarify whether this was the most up-to-date or the university website. And then just to make sure that there's a plan in the works to keep students up to date with the most current plans as they come out.
The website's the most up to date. We are in what's called a pre-design phase, because in order to get it through our trustees and then through it's the office that does contracts for the state, we have to have a pretty comprehensive design that's finished. And to do that, we've been working on that project now for the last year, and that has the most up-to-date renderings. In fact, we just got some. I haven't seen them yet, but when I see them, you'll get them. They'll get posted.
Thank you. Senator Wickersham?
Yeah, so again, thank you for coming. And my questions largely revolve, just two-part question, largely revolve around costs. So the Future State project, your goal is to raise about $60 million for the Southside campus redevelopment. And then you also mentioned during your presentation that you're seeking to, for the state to allow you to raise bonds up to $97 million for Armstrong's replacement. Are these costs enough for the two projects? And if they're not, what are university plans in the event of cost overruns?
That is a really, really good question. And, looking at contingencies where you don't have a lot of excess cash is difficult. We're, from even what's on the website, we have to value engineer or reduce a floor out of what the stadium's going to be. The residence hall, like any residence hall on campus, will be self-sustaining and supporting. And so if we're able to generate the $3 to $4 million a year in revenue that comes back to campus, I'm pretty confident about the South Side. And the steering committee we have for that are all, we have a real estate foundation with experts in the space. So I'm confident there. I'm not confident about Armstrong. If we were to program it the way we want, it's 121 million all in. And we're not going to get that. And the system won't support that. We're not going to get it. So we'll have to design around how we make it happen at 97. And what is it that goes in the building and what doesn't go in the building? Things that don't go in the building are going to be things that we can put in other places. So for example, part of what we are doing, and it's starting pretty quick here, is building out the basement level of clinical sciences. There's some repurposing of space that we can do in Weeking Center. There's repurposing of space we can do in the library that we think are going to get us to what we need in the total, the gross square footage to be able to offer our program. But that's an ongoing discussion, and I have that regularly with our facilities people about, at this price point, what are we going to be able to do? And if we wait much longer than this price point, and depending on what happens with tariffs, these prices could go up. So, we think there's an urgency to getting this funded now. But price and cost overruns are huge. And that's something we'll need to pay careful attention to, because we're not going to be able to build everybody's dream. We're going to be able to build what is fiscally responsible.
Thank you. For all those senators who came in late, this is the final calling. If there is any senators willing to ask questions, please raise your placard now. These will be the final 2 to 3 questions. All right. Senator Frost, followed by Senator Hillstead, followed by Senator Atkinson. and followed by Vice President Kafle. Thank you. These will be the last 4 questions, no more questions after this.
Okay.
Hi again, President Inch. Thank you again for coming. I appreciate you being here. This has been, I think, very informative. One of the things I'm very concerned about is the university system's potential investments into the genocide of Gaza and how that has not been addressed by university leadership, even in disclosure. Is the university resisting calls to disclose investments because it's aware of these said investments into the genocide of Palestinian people?
We're aware of the genocide of Palestinian people. The university, as I think you know, is not in control of our investments. MMD is at the state level. And you can see on their website exactly what they invest in, but that's where all of our reserves are housed. Now, separately, there are multiple foundations we work with that invest in ways that you have access to see what they choose to publish, and those tend to support grants and scholarships for us, including the University Foundation and the Real Estate Foundation. They follow what the disclosure laws are for all of them. Microsoft's the other big one. They follow the disclosure laws that they're required to by the federal government. What I tell people, though, is if there is a lack of disclosure and it makes you uncomfortable by private entity, and we've had somebody do this, I'm not saying this facetiously, is, and this came up around Microsoft, because they fund a good number of scholarships, but we also know the role that they play in weapons. And instead of me telling students that, no, we're not going to take any more scholarships from them or the foundation or whomever, I'd rather have students make that choice. And that would empower students to choose what's best for them. So I think you look at the scholarships that you're offered, and then you look at the transparency that they have, and if you're not comfortable with it, that wouldn't be the one to go for.
Thank you. Senator Hillstead.
For this Armstrong Hall project, I'm in a huge support of it, of course, as I've been personally affected by it as I'm an aviation major, so most of my classes are inside Armstrong. Would you be in support of, say, if I were to propose a resolution on the table to create like a task force-esque thing to maybe have people who are willing to go up to the state capitol a couple of times throughout this next year before their legislative session to lobby on behalf of this university to get and advocate for this university to get that funded?
Sure. The only admonition I would have is I want to make sure that whatever messaging that you're all using, you should also know what the messaging is that the university is using, because what hurts is if we say different things. If our facts are different, if our numbers are different, if the impact is different, we need to make sure that we're coordinating and come to an agreement about what the broader messaging strategy is. But sure.
Sweet.
Thank you. Senator Atkinson.
So does the university anticipate using student fees in funding any phase of the future state? And if so, when should students expect to see it in their college bills?
As I mentioned, this has been a conversation with student government over the last 2 years. So in the first phase, I'm not imagining using student fees as any part of that. That's funded through private philanthropy. But in the second phase, if we build out the fields, so build out the track infield and turf it, that comes out of some student fees. If we fix or change any of the spaces there, and for example, last year there was a push, we ought to build pickleball courts, then we would chat about, well, how do you want to fund that or not? And so, yeah, we would do that and figure out what are the things that our students want. What do you imagine our students over the next decade are going to want? And what are the costs associated with that? I'll continue to privately fundraise for it. But here's part of the challenge is, depending on how you use the land, private fundraising is limited when it's on state land. You can't, it's just limited. I can't have a for-profit retail center sitting on state land is a little tough to get through. But if there are ways that we can use fees that do something that the students want, yeah, we would talk about whether or not we wanted to pursue that. And the other option is we can leave it as it is. It's usable, it's good usable space, but there might be more things we choose to do.
I appreciate your answer.
So much. Our last and final question, Vice President Kafle.
President Inch, I wanted to share with you a concern students deeply have, which is about potential for closure of food pantry. Can you share with us what plans does university have to ensure that food pantry does not shut down? And can you make a commitment today in the Senate to make sure that that you will be supporting food pantry and our students will not have to suffer the shutdown of Maverick Food Pantry?
Sure, and this resource is available to you online. You can look it up. And you can see kind of what the timeline is, even though it's a little sketchy right now. The university, every 5 years or so, is supposed to publish its comprehensive facilities plan. That is available to you online. And you'll see the 2025 version, it's not quite yet done. They're at the 65% level. So if you look at what it says we're going to do is take the programming that is currently in Karkoski, which is where the food pantry is, health services are, there's a lab there, and that those pieces in the program would be redistributed on campus. Now, the food pantry in particular, the goal is that it goes into the replacement residence hall that is going to replace Karkoski. So that's what the plan is right now. Now, there are some other ideas that people have had about, well, maybe we can move sooner, maybe we can do some other things. That's fine. But the plan that's published imagines it going into the new residence hall.
Thank you very much. And that was a lot of questions for you.
problem.
If you would like, you can have 2 minutes for your closing statement if you want, or if not.
I respect all the appreciation that I get, but I appreciate I get to come and talk to you all. Because I think sometimes messages get filtered. And one message can go out 100 different ways. So being able to talk to you directly, I really, really appreciate. So to your president, thank you for the invitation. That's meaningful for me. And I'm happy to come back. And yeah, I know my schedule gets busy, but this is when I cleared stuff for. Because I'd rather spend a little time talking with you all because you're the drivers of everything we talked about today. I have a lot of respect for that. I also have a lot of respect for questions that are challenging questions because we don't have all the answers yet about how we're going to move forward. But I do think moving together, figuring out together what our strategies are, where our priorities are, and the things we want to be able to accomplish, we'll get those done. So I have a lot of respect for the invitation. I took up way more than my 15 minutes, and thank you for offering that. The only other thing I would say, because I meant to answer this about whether or not there'd be any student fees involved in the future state phase 1, technically, I'm not allowed to. There's no state funding that's allowed to touch that project just the way the leases are designed. So if I get caught doing that, and you can all, tell on me, if that starts happening, let me know, because that is not supposed to happen. That's explicit in what the trustees approved. Just so there was a separation, right, to make it clear that this is a private funded project, not a public or student fee funded project. Because they were worried that this would come out of your hide at some point, and I don't want that. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yep, please give him a big
Much
round of
appreciated.
applause. For all those senators who still wish to ask a question that you couldn't today, you can email the question to our president or our vice president, and we can potentially schedule a similar kind of meeting again. Moving forward, for open forum, do we have anyone here for open forum today? Anyone? Yes, Senator Livingston.
Thank you, everyone. I'll keep this brief, but we just concluded our off-campus housing survey, and I have compiled our data that we've collected, and I've put together a brief report I would love to share with you guys. The digital version is on Teams in the Senate channel, but I also like to pass on some physical copies as well. I only have a couple copies here, but I can always print those out. But yeah, I let the report speak for itself, but I'm just here if anyone has any questions about how we got to this point or about any of the data we found out about. Is there any, can I open it for questions?
What did the senator ask?
Sorry, I can open it up for any questions that people have about the report.
Right now, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Senator Huluga.
Yeah, I just, if you could touch on what your goals for the project were, and how those might come into play moving forward with the survey results.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for pulling it up. So the main goal of this survey was obviously to research and identify some of the nuances of the issues that we commonly hear about when it comes to off-campus housing. And so what I wanted to do with this was try to obviously gather that data, compile it in a readable way, and kind of move my way up the ladder when it comes to communicating this data. So obviously I start here, but I also want to hopefully sometime meet with the university administration and city leaders just to raise awareness about these issues. Because I don't have the solutions to these issues, but I know that these people that I hopefully can talk to will have those solutions. And so that's the goal with this information. This is just step one in kind of raising awareness about the issue and hopefully gather some solutions.
Any more questions? No more questions?
I've covered, oh, sorry.
Yes, Senator Huluga.
Yeah, I was also just wondering if you have any additional information that has been omitted from the survey results that you've compiled? Is there any other statistical information that might be relevant?
Nothing has been omitted, at least intentionally. Any kind of any data that I removed was for brevity purposes. There was some invalid answers, so people that lived in res halls answered the form, and so I had to obviously take those out. Stuff that was incomplete or it's simply for the betterment of our results. There's nothing was really hidden. So, and just to point out, something that really stuck out with me was that I did include something that really came to my attention in the middle of the survey was I left it just an open box for comments about people's issues they've had with off-campus housing. And so I just want to, I would refer anyone to the notable comments page on page 5, the section there. And if you want, I can give anyone access to the actual spreadsheet. And that has all the responses on there. But I included some of the highlights that I found right there about people's responses, because no one's off-campus housing experience is, everyone's unique. Everyone has unique issues and whatnot. And I mean, there is common problems we have, but I mean, these are people's life experiences here. I mean, people were really specific about their life stories, about some of the issues they're facing. And so I really want to put those voices out there and put it to the people that can do something about it. So, yeah. Any other questions? I guess I should have pointed out, sorry. The main point of the survey was we're trying to tackle 2 specific issues regarding move-out, move-in processes, and also lease gaps. Because I know that those are 2 common things that I've heard about with my experience with off-campus housing issues. But also we've been able to find out new things that people have brought to our attention as well. So, yeah.
Yes, Senator Ide, followed by Senator Hillstead.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this information is at the top of your head, but are you aware of the split between Jacob Heights and the Summit of the results? Because one is more like an apartment complex and then one is more like townhouses.
From my understanding, they're run by the same company. And so kind of to separate that would be might be bit too difficult. And also I only included properties for the average rating that had over 10 responses. And so just to lump them together to kind of for data purposes. So.
Okay, thank you. I just asked because I live at Jacob Heights.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Hillstead.
Coming from a guy who experienced a lease gap for 2 weeks, the most common lease gap length, what are your steps to approach that lease gap? And how are you still going to allow these apartment complexes to still professionally clean these apartments and prepare them for new residents?
Thank you for the question. Lease gaps was something that we have come across quite a bit year after year. And so regarding the lease gaps, so obviously we have, I think, John, we recently hosted a off-campus housing summit, and we were able to have very positive conversations about some of these issues. And so I think when it comes to our role in it and trying to close those gaps is trying to have positive communication, clear communication, with regarding here is what's happening, how long, like also something that was I found unique was that actually 17% of those instances included moving within the same property. And so that's an easy fix right there, because that's including the same property owner. So we can start there, but also just having that clear, positive communication with these landlords, because I guess with experience with advocacy and communicating with these kinds of folks is that we want to make sure that it's a positive relationship, and that's the best way to move forward.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any more questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your contribution and your service. I'd like to now invite our Dean of the Day, Dr. Muhammad Alam, who is the Dean for CSAT.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Almost good evening, I think. Right. All right. Okay, my name is Muhammad Alam, as the speaker announced. So this is my third year, actually. So I'll give you a very brief outline of what we have done and what we are doing and which direction we are heading. So as we speak, we reviewed all the academic programs in the college. We actually discontinued about 26 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs. Majority of those programs have enrollment issues. Some of these programs has 0 or 1, especially in the certificate programs for the last 15, 20 years. Then we looked at programs that are niche, especially from our perspectives. So we added actually 7 new degree programs. Those includes the undergraduate in robotics engineering. So, and then a master's in artificial intelligence, then an undergraduate degree program in automotive engineering. In fact, that is the second program in the country. The robotics engineering is the first of its kind in the state, and the master's in AI is the first program in the system. We also introduced an undergraduate program in manufacturing engineering. So some of the programs that we discontinued include, let's say, electrical engineering technology, where we had only 12 students, and we cannot sustain that kind of program for a prolonged period of time. So as you talk with other students, please spread the word, and our objective is to make sure that we make these programs as self-sustaining as soon as possible. The other 2 programs are undergraduate program in software engineering. We offered that program at the St. Paul College location. And it is basically a project-based program where our students work very closely with people from industry. And the last one is ISET, Integrated Science and Technology. That particular program was introduced to accommodate community college graduates who are working in their job market or in their with the company. And after some time, they get stuck, they cannot get promoted. So in order to accommodate that group of students or potential students, we introduced that Integrated Science and Technology. So that's all on the academic side. We also want to make sure that we provide programs that satisfies the minimum quality requirements. So all of our engineering programs are accredited by ABET, which stands for Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, for the maximum possible period, which is 6 years. And which means that if you get a degree from MIT, they have accreditation, and if you graduate from here, you also have a degree from an accredited institution. And the accreditation board actually, they send people from outside to evaluate everything that we do, from the lab all the way to the classroom, what the students are doing, pretty much A to Z, before they issue the accreditation verdict. We are also focusing our attention to increase and more internships and co-op opportunities for our students. So we are building our relationships with the local and regional industry. And we are also raising funds from the private sector so that we can provide more scholarships as well as funding for student-related activities. So with our limited resources, we are sending students who wants to present papers at the appropriate conferences. We raised close to $8 million over the last 1.5 years. That includes about 50% in kind, the remaining 50% cash. So fundraising is also one of my responsibilities. We are trying to connect with with people from industry, alumni base, as well as the community members, so that we can bring more resources for our students. We are here, the university exists for students, so our primary responsibility is to make sure that we do everything we can so that our students get quality education, and then they are also ready right after their graduation from here to hit the job market. The third area that we are focusing on is to increase our funded research activities. We are trying to engage our undergraduate students in faculty research activities. We are encouraging faculty so that they get more involved in research and they can write proposals, bring money from industry, from government agencies, as well as private foundations. So when a faculty member gets a grant, then they need students to help. So this includes undergraduate students and graduate students. So that is our another priority. So when I took over about 2 years ago, our funding level was around 3.7 or 3.8.
So at this point, if you include everything, we are over $10 million. Our objective is to grow it even further. So those are the key highlights about the college. There are a few other things that we want to improve, but it cannot be done directly from the college. An example is the website. With the newly introduced website, still it is not user-friendly.
And probably some of you may have noticed that if you look for a particular program or you want to work with a professor, it's hard to navigate.
So those are some challenges that we have, and we have to
address it. The other thing we are doing, our objective is to increase our enrollment in the college by working with our college
colleagues from the enrollment office and other outlets. So one of the things we are doing, or we are
trying to do, is to increase our presence in social media. Nowadays, the students, they don't read
letters or even emails. So we are trying to make sure that we reach out to potential group of students
through social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as other suitable outlets. And the third thing we are doing is to record our video clips for specific programs and then post them at the department website and also at the college website, and it will rotate so that students who come to the website or parents who come to the website, they can get a flavor of the kind of programs that we offer. So we have 10 departments in the college. We used to have 98 programs. That total number of programs will go down to about 85 or 86 after the programs that we discontinued through the portfolio review process. In a nutshell, that is the very quick update about the college. I know that we are behind the schedule, so if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Senator Atkinson, followed by Senator Frost. Is your laptop?
No, that's my bad. Sorry.
Senator Atkinson, followed by Vice President Kafli, followed by Senator Wickersham.
So as a CSET student, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing lacking in my current classes is students who have technical skills outside of just theory, such as using lab equipment, setting up proper breadboards, all of these different things. How is the College of CSET working to train these students in proper technical skills like that, in addition to also providing hands-on learning for them?
So let me answer the last piece. With respect to hands-on experience, we actually try our level best to make sure that the students actually get some experiential learning. So an example would be the project-based computer science program, where students actually work with people from industry, mainly funded by the Naval software.
And with respect to using the equipment in the lab, actually we require that before a student touches a piece of equipment, that student or the group of students must be educated how to use the equipment. So if you have a bad experience with a specific lab, I need to know that, because depending on the topic like chemistry, safety is a critical measure. If you don't mix chemicals properly, it may cause explosions, fires, and all kinds of headaches. And we had those kind of issues involving a faculty. That faculty member is not here anymore. I'm just telling you the blunt thing. And if you are working with, let's say, electrical and computer engineering, obviously the first thing you check how to use electric power, because if you don't use it properly, if you don't handle it properly, then you'll get electric shock. So those are critical things that each student must be trained and educated by the lab instructor. So do we drop the ball here and there? Yeah, it does happen. It happens, for example, let's say we hired a brand new faculty member who just came out from another institution with a PhD degree. And we try to train them, but sometimes what happens, we end up hiring people after the classes start. So for example, in mechanical engineering last semester, we made 3 offers. And by the time we got the first candidate accepted, declined, second candidate accepted, and he was supposed to arrive, even rented an apartment and then said, no, I'm not coming. The third candidate finally arrived, but in the meantime, we are in the 3rd week of the class. So you have to put everything on a crash course kind of thing. And sometimes you cannot cover things in such a short time. So in those kind of scenarios, we may run into problems. But the sooner we know it, the better. Either you can get in touch with the faculty member who is teaching the class, or the department chair, or associate dean, or in general, our associate dean is responsible to handle issues like this. But I get involved depending on the type of the problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. In respect of everybody's time, let's try to shorten the answer a bit, please. Vice President Kafle.
Since Karkowski is being demolished, my question to you is, what is going to happen to the computer science project space at Karkowski that about 100 students use?
Yeah, so very briefly, we are looking at alternate options. One of the possible option is to move
The CS project-based programs in leasing, but no final decision has been made because the university
Space County is looking into it.
So we are working with the provost office, and there are other key stakeholders that we have to work with before making a final decision. It's not right up to me. I am just one of the key persons making the case for the space.
Senator Wickersham.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask again what the $8 million that you guys had fundraised was being used for.
Sure.
So, as I said, about 4 million of them is
Basically for our in-kind donation, getting piece of equipment and things like that. The other 4 million, for example, we had one person who basically endowed $1.5 million to give scholarships to biology students. And then we have a lab, it's called Microfabrication Lab.
It's a $2.5 million facility
right here.
So many people don't know it. Basically, you can use that facility to design and fabricate chips. So the computer that you are using,
you open the motherboard, there are tiny devices in there, but the most important one is the brain of the computer. It is called microprocessor. So we can design actually those kind of things in our lab at a lower scale.
So we didn't have a lab technician, so we contacted a company called Thin Film Corporation. So they're actually funding 50% of the salary for that technician so that we can run the lab properly. And then majority of this funding are coming to provide scholarships. So I gave you just one example. One person gave 1.5, another one gave $500,000, another one gave 1.1. And then we get 50,000, 60,000 from companies like Excel Energy. Then I don't even remember all the names.
Funding comes from them, ISG.
Then Walter Norman. And then in construction management, we have a bunch of companies. They basically provide support to hire students through internships as well as jobs. In fact, in construction management, every student gets multiple choices for
internships and co-ops. So you can select which one you like.
So those are the kind of things
that we are doing.
All right, thank you so much. Please give him a big round of applause. All right, we now move forward with our officer report. First of all, President Colrin.
Ooh, that was really good questions and really good conversations. Like, I am shocked that's only been an hour. So that was a lot of fun. Like, I look forward that we'll keep going through this across the meeting. So being aware of time, my officer report is pretty short, so I'll try to keep it short just through my presentation on this. So for Senate meeting timeline, the semester is coming really close to a close. We just have a few meetings left. So after the Senate meeting, we'll have three Senate meetings left. So November 12th, November 19th, and December 3rd. We do have November 27th as Wednesday, but that is just a few hours before Thanksgiving Day. So we talked to the cabinet and we decided that would not be a good time to have a Senate meeting, and it would be good to have a break for us during that week. So because we have 3 Senate meetings left, I just want to let you all know that we are on a pretty short timeline. I've been talking to a lot of you, and there is a lot of resolutions in the works. So if you have any resolutions you want to share with us, or anything you want to do during Senate for our business, I think next week is the time to do that. Just make sure you're aware of the timing for what's happening for that. Next up, we have Advocacy Conference. So this Friday, I'm leaving with a lot of different students and mostly all across the table to go to Advocacy Conference in the Twin Cities over, I believe, in South Hennepin Community College. I'm looking forward to a lot for it as we go into a lot of training sessions and conversations with other technical colleges, other universities to learn how to advocate as students on both the local, state, and federal level. So that'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to sharing the results with y'all next week. Finally, we have Senator Month. So we're still trying to do Senator Months to do recognition for senators at the beginning of every month to commemorate the previous month. This month we're handing out a certificate, a mini trophy, and $15 gift card for Starbucks. So I'll do my Senator Month, and Sam will do hers during her report. So this Senator Month, they're a new senator, and ever since meeting them, they've been very passionate about student government. They've always been in the office, and they've always been willing to listen and just take on any new products that are being brought to the table. And I think the biggest example it showed was, I believe it was a few weeks ago, where I gave them a proposition on a project, and they didn't ask, when I gave them a proposition, the thought process was, what can I do to help? How soon do you need me to do it? And how can I yes-and it the entire time? So this center has done amazing things. I really look forward to what they'll do across this academic year and hopefully academics in the future. So Senator Wickersham, would you come to get your Senator Award?
Big round of applause, everyone.
And now I'll yield to questions.
Any questions for our President Colin?
No questions. So we move forward with our Vice President's officer report.
Hi everyone, I'll try to keep my officer report a little short, but I have quite a few content to cover on. So firstly, it's week 11. I hope everyone's semester is going smoothly. Mine definitely is not. Moving on, for upcoming meetings, we have several important ones scheduled. We have Meet and Confer tomorrow. We have President's Commission on Status of Women tomorrow. We have Budgets of Meet and Confer on Tuesday. President's Commission on Diversity on Tuesday. And I also do have dining contract meeting this Friday. And if you have any inputs or concern related to any of these different committees, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Every week I announce you guys the long list of meetings that we have to attend. That is because I want to make sure that each and every one of your concern and voices are being reached out to administratives. Our concerns, we do take it. However, I want to make sure that all of your voices are represented. So please reach out to me. Additionally, Vice President Morris was here last week and he announced a community listening session taking place. I am here to give dates for that. So we have 2 community sessions left. One is on Tuesday, November 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. in CSU 253. This session is primarily student focused. So I encourage all of you to attend that session. That is where they will be discussing if there is anything they need to for like the name changing, should we do that, should we not do that? And this is the one where all the students are encouraged to go. So if you guys have time, please mark your calendar. There will also be another session on Wednesday, November 19th from 2 to 4 p.m. in Ostrander Hall, which you are welcome to join as well. But I would recommend you guys going on the Tuesday one because that is primarily student focused. Tuesday, November 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. at CSU 253. Okay, regarding the dining contract project, as I mentioned previously, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I will be representing students' voice in this process. I am working in this along with Director Mark, Res Life's director, and a lot of different people. So this Friday, I will be meeting with them to discuss any updates or any questions that I have. And if you guys, any of you want me to ask them any questions, if you have any things that you want to see for the dining contract, because this dining contract is for the next 10 years. If there is anything you like, dislike, anything you want to change, please let me know and I can go and ask them if we can do anything about that. With that, thank you so much everybody for all that you've shown to these student government. I really appreciate you. So for my Senator of the Month, both the senators are decided by me and President Coren together, and we decide to award each one. So they are a new senator, and after meeting with them, I was very impressed with the work they have done and continue to plan. And they have also spoken with many administrators within their department to find ways for tangible change and outreach to other areas of campus, like Maverick Food Pantry. They have also taken on the monumental task of participating in intensive committees like Student Allocation Committee and additional senator projects after the Coffee and Conversation event. So the Senator of the Month for October is, drum rolls everyone, Senator Cummings. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Vice President Kafle? All right, seeing no questions, I'll move forward with my officer report. Two things that I want to talk about. First of all, Operating Procedure Task Force. So if you guys recently look at the agenda, we just approved our consent agenda, which had the four of us, Abigail Andre, Tyler Hiluka, Emily Dietrich, and myself, appointed to this very new task force. I will be acting as the chair, a non-voting member of the committee of the task force, and making sure all the logistics are handled properly, while Abigail Andrew, Tyler Hiluka, and Emily Dietrich will be working on drafting a very nice and wise operating procedure document that will be necessary for the running of the committees for the further future as well. Everybody will get to have their say on it after the document is drafted and made. And once after this all is brought upon, we will introduce it to the Senate where everybody gets to vote on it. Things are pretty much clear. If there are any questions for me regarding this, feel free to contact me. Or if there is any question, yes, Senator Wickersham.
Is that gonna be a formal resolution or just something else?
So how operating procedure document works is this will in fact be like a formal resolution voting where everybody gets to vote. But at the same point, this committee that will be working on making it pretty much guarantees that it's going to cover a lot of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
And another thing that I would like to, is there any other questions for me regarding this operating procedure, except for Tyler Hiluka? Is there? Just Tyler Hiluka? All right, what's your question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you just allow me to make a statement about this? Yeah, so I believe I can speak for most of the members that just got appointed to this. We would love to hear your guys' concerns. We'd love to hear what you guys would like to see be input into this document. So if you want to reach out to any of us in the process of working on this, we'll be figuring that out soon, so.
Thank you so much. Make sure you reach out to these wonderful gentlemen and gentlewomen. Also reach out to me if there is any questions. Apart from this, there is kickball. Where's Todd? I'm kidding. Right here. Okay, so we're having kickball pretty soon. It is November 19th, I believe, 5 p.m. on Dome. So everybody is invited. Make sure you are all ready and fit for all the strategies that you want to talk about with me about how we, win, of course. You guys can feel free to contact me. And apart from that, I don't have a lot of things for anyone. If I have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Any questions? All right, seeing no questions, we move forward with our Senator report. First of all, I'd like to invite Senator Dietrich for her Senator report.
Okay, out of interest of time, I'm gonna make it as quick as possible. So I've been working with the OER librarian so far to help different departments of the College of Business to move in the direction of adopting OER into their course materials, not just as like replacement textbooks, but as like supplemental materials as well. So far, we've met with the department chair for the marketing and international business departments in the College of Business, Dr. Ann Kuzma. That went extremely well, and Emma Schmidtke, the librarian, was invited to one of their meetings in a few weeks to talk about OER and connect with the professors from that department there. We also have an appointment set up for to meet with Dr. Claudia Pragman from Management and Entrepreneurship in a couple of weeks. Let's see. Not really my project, but I have been working a lot with Brian Schneider on different printing stuff all across campus. That continues. It's been a journey, but yeah. So working hard to make sure that we are offering students the best services that we can in terms of their printing needs. Let's see. And then I have reached out to Rachel Sherlock from Financial Aid about ways that we can greater find matches for work-study students and work-study jobs, just because right now there are a lot of positions all across campus that are open to work-study students that are going unfilled. And that means students who have work-study or are eligible for work-study are missing out on the opportunity to get those jobs. And the university is then having to either cut positions that they need to have filled or having to spend extra money to fill those spots themselves. So one of the suggestions I had was potentially doing a work-study job fair at the start of each semester, just to make sure that students are aware of the opportunities available to them, as well as that they can get maybe a better idea by talking to the folks at the job fair about what the job would entail, the kind of hours they'd work, what the kind of schedule would be, because it can be really difficult to tell that if you just go by handshake. Yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you so much. Do we have any question for Senator Dietrich? All right, seeing none, we move forward with Senator Ide.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Minnesota has recently been the hotspot for AI data centers with at least 10 known developments planned, including one in our backyard. There are currently discussions for the development of a 40 million square foot data center in the northwest side of North Mankato, which, for context, is larger than the Xcel Energy Center, Target Field Stadium, and the US Bank Stadium combined. For even more context, that's about 2/3 the size of the Mall of America. The introduction of a data center in our community is detrimental to not only the environment, but the social and economic well-being of not just North Mankato, but Mankato and any cities in the region. This data center is projected to, at minimum, use over 180 million gallons of water a year, which is 1/3 of the entire North Mankato water usage, and at a maximum, 2.7 billion, that's billion, gallons of water per year. For context, North Mankato currently uses 540 million gallons of water per year. The city of North Mankato is currently lobbying state legislators to allow industrial use of water from the last large aquifer in Minnesota, the Mount Simon/Hinckley Aquifer. This aquifer has banned any industrial use of their water 30 years ago in fear of droughts, as this is the same aquifer that millions of Minnesotans require and rely on for healthy drinking water. And according to governmental conservationists, this water is rapidly depleting. On the electrical end, this data center is projected to use over 500 megawatts of energy per year, which is 50% of the total power typically consumed by residents of a metropolitan area the size of the North Mankato metropolitan. Electrical and water companies are allowed to raise their utility rates when infrastructure is needed to grow their operations, which in turns mean higher rates for all Minnesotans, as the electrical company supplying power to this center is the second largest in Minnesota and delivers power to essentially most regions. The North Mankato City Council has signed an NDA, which allows them to keep us in the dark. Although an NDA has been signed, it does not supersede the law, which requires a level of transparency. As a result of this lack of transparency, the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy has filed a lawsuit against North Mankato. Although this development is in North Mankato, this will be felt not just in the pockets of anybody in the region, but also in their spirit. I've begun working on a resolution seconded by Senator Cumming that clearly states the detrimental effects of a data center on the environment, the economy, and the well-being of anybody in this region. For anyone looking for more information, as this is a very deep topic on how these data centers will impact you, such as light pollution, noise pollution, the lack of permanent jobs created, droughts, increased bills, and more, I will be hosting an informative meeting after this student government session in the student government office where I'm open to any further information. And if you would like to be keyed in on this project and work with us, please reach out to me on Teams, as this is something I'm extremely passionate for. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions that we have for Senator Ide can be addressed in the same meeting? I hope so.
Sure.
All right, thank you so much. Senator Johnson.
I uploaded a short letter. It's full of gratitude for all of you and this body and all of our shared work. I did make one small edit, significant edit to it just before this meeting began. I had addressed it to the 92nd student government. You know, I do a lot of stuff, and apparently remembering what year it is not one of them. And I just talked about some of the things I've been doing, the resolution in support of faculty and transparency on things like retrenchment, the ongoing effort with a fully funded tuition freeze resolution, and a little bit more information on the depth and breadth of conversations that I try to have with as many students and groups as possible, from Mavs for Change, my own students in English 101 and their friends, their concerns, graduate students, and various departments. Thank you.
So much. Do we have any questions for Senator Johnson? All right, seeing none, we move forward with vacancies. As of now, we have 3 seats for Senator College of Allied Health and Nursing. We have 1 seat for Senator College of Business, 1 seat for Senator Graduate Studies Center, and 1 seat for Senator Residential Life. I didn't see any new applications in Mav Life, so please reach out to all your colleagues, friends, anyone that you know is deserving for this seat and would like to work for the students to make sure that we have seats available for them as well before budget season. All right, now we move forward with our new business. There was a resolution proposed for today's meeting, fully funded tuition freeze resolution. And I'd like to invite the author and the person who seconded to please present it.
Should we stay here? Is that fine? All right, thanks. Since we have a surplus of time, I'm going to go through and read this word by word. As discussed in the committee meeting earlier, this is a ground level and early shovel into the dirt for a long process. It seems buttressed by the wealth of information that President Inch provided with us earlier, and this is a concern for all students. It's also a concern for all staff. It's a concern for the administration and the community at large. We have seen the results of an unfunded tuition freeze. It can be helpful to have that tuition freeze for those years in the short run. But the consequences when the bill comes can be dire. And so what we're asking for is student government support and backing, administrative support and backing, Students United support and backing. And as suggested in the committee meeting by Senator Zellmer, possibly seeing if there can be some involvement from the University of Minnesota and the students that they represent. And I am happy to reach out to their equivalent of Students United, their student senate there, to gauge interest and try to wrap up as much support for this as possible. We're looking to, when the legislative biennium comes, that will be on allocations and funding. to request and push for a fully funded tuition freeze for our institution and the state institutions.
As a second, I would love to speak on this as well. Like this is, like I've heard from a couple people already, like this is a wordy resolution and has a lot of complex stuff. So I'm gonna try to break it down as much as I can and give as much context as possible. Let's see where, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from there. So in academic year 2024 and 2025, so out of the past 2 academic years, there has been a tuition freeze that on paper has been funded, but in reality has been underfunded and not fully funded across the mid-state system. So to do a little more context on it, a tuition freeze is where the legislature of Minnesota requires the universities and technical colleges that are public to the state to not increase their tuition. And there are two types of tuition freezes. There are funded and unfunded. And the reason why there's this differentiation is because when it comes to freezes and how they allocate over time, is that if you're in a university or any kind of other business, there is going to be increase in costs. There's going to be inflationary costs that increase and also labor contracts that increase. So when it comes to unfunded tuition freeze, those costs that come from inflation and labor costs do not get funded by a state legislator. But when it comes to funded tuition freeze, it does. And we've been seeing a big increase for MSU Mankato with the 8% increase for this academic year because the funding from the state legislature was not given, as President Inch mentioned early in this meeting. And I think the biggest thing we want to emphasize on this, on my part at least, is that as stated in chapter 135.00, like there has been a promise in the state to do 67% for students and for students to receive 60% of that pay. I believe that students are being paid are paying back 67% instead of the state. And there could be a lot more efforts in the state to provide funding and allow students to pay for college without destroying their pocketbook. So and again, when it comes to student government and my personal priorities with this organization, the biggest thing by far is college affordability. I think this is one of the best ways for college affordability to be done and for us to build momentum across this university. So what I'm mostly asking for this resolution is 2 things. One that we recognize that there is desire for this tuition freeze across the student body, and that there could be some implicit support from the student government of MSU Mankato, also from Legislative Affairs Committee. That's the secondary thing we're asking for. Probably the main thing that we want to see from this resolution is just to communicate to administration this is what we want as students, and it's something we want to do, and we want to join administration to have efforts to lobby for this across this legislative session. And if we don't get this legislative session, as it is a policy year, to advocate for next legislative session when it is a budget year. So that's our thought process for this, and me and my first would happily yield to questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, Senator Zelmer.
If there are, motion to limit the speakers list.
Second.
All right, any dissents? Seeing no dissents, we just clearly passed it. Any points, any questions? Any questions, any not discussion, just questions? Yes, sir. Yes, Tyler Hilliger.
Is the floor open to a motion at this time?
Yes.
Motion to postpone this resolution to our next regular meeting.
Second.
Any dissents? All right, no dissents. All those in favor of postponing this motion, please raise your placard. All those who disagree, please raise your placard. All right, this motion clearly moves to old business for the next meeting. Thank you very much. We shall now move forward with our announcements. Is there anyone here for announcements? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to state, as the chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee's State and Local Task Force, I will be personally working on coordinating attendance at city council meetings for both the city of Mankato and North Mankato. These council meetings are one of the best places for us to make our concerns heard, whether it may be pedestrian safety or potential AI data centers in the area. Attending these meetings will allow us to make our concerns heard. And I'd just like to state that the next city council meeting for the city of Mankato will be on Monday, November 10th at 6 p.m. And North Mankato's next meeting will be happening Monday, November 17th at 7 p.m. if you have any interest in attending, please reach out to me over Teams so we can coordinate rides, get everybody, as many voices in, and as many people in the seats as possible. It really helps us make a difference. Thank you.
So much. Is there anyone else here for announcements? Vice President Kafte?
Hi everyone. I did mention about this in my last officer report as well, but once again I'm mentioning just in case nobody got it. Gamma Phi Beta has reached out to us again because they're hosting their annual Moonball Kickball event on Sunday, November 16th at 1 p.m. All the genders are welcome. So if you guys are interested, please go in there, support them, and it's $10 per person. So if you're interested in Moonball, that is one of the events that you should go. And if you need any more detail, please reach out to me and I can ask them for further clarification and further information as well.
Thank you very much. John, with our final announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And while I'm speaking, if somebody can prepare the budget and election timeline document to be able to show on the screens, that would be very helpful. I'll touch on some things before then.
Before that, I am in the middle of a week that is full of Renting 101 information sessions, and the housing fair was held yesterday. Already this week, more than 150 students have attended Renting 101 info sessions. I completed the 4th of 7 of those right before this meeting today. So if you are interested in seeing what I covered during a Renting 101 information session, the next ones, or the last ones for this semester, are at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. tomorrow. And then there is one at 9 a.m. on Friday. The Friday one is being held in Armstrong 101. I believe there's an admissions event or
Something going on in this building that Ostrander was not available for, but tomorrow is in Ostrander Auditorium.
And so if you're interested, please feel free to stop by one of those. You'll see what I speak about with the students who we're targeting and who are looking for housing for next year potentially. I want to thank the Election Commission for getting together this week for their first meeting. In this room, you have 3 members of the Election Commission, and those are Senator Cumming, Senator Johnson, and Senator Reyes. In addition to that, President Emeritus Rohit Narala is serving on the Election Commission, and the group met for the first time this week. There will be a follow-up meeting on Monday. And then the rules will be presented, rules and timeline for the election will be presented next week's meeting. The Chief Election Commissioner for this year will be Senator Reyes. He was chosen by the commission to serve in that role. So thanks to that group for meeting. There's some very important work to do in a short period of time, but I think we've got it under control with that group. I am looking forward to attending the advocacy conference this year. For the first time, the system office has done something that is provides an advisor track for student government. So there will be advisors from student government all over the state there. And so I will be there for parts of the session as well. Some separate, and then there will be some, I believe, some session during which the advisors may be joining the students. But it's going to be a good opportunity, and I look forward to that. So that will be my first formal interaction with Students United at a session that is a statewide thing. This coming Saturday, the student events team is hosting laser tag in the CSU ballroom that is open at 8 p.m. on Saturday. It's open to all students. And then we've got about a month until this event, but as always, the Monday of finals week, the CSU hosts a late night finals week breakfast. And so go ahead and mark that on your calendar for Monday, December 8th, if you would like to attend that. That is at 8 o'clock in the evening until about 10-ish is about when we'll shut down, depending on when the line dies out. Okay, 9 o'clock, my bad. It used to start at 10. So it's 9 o'clock. It's an hour earlier than it is. So 9 till about 11. It's about 2 hours or whenever that line dies down. Lastly, and thank you for pulling this document up. This document, this timeline, this chart was shared with all of the budget directors or the fee area directors this past Friday. And so we get into a very, very busy time of the year right now through April. At the end of this month, all of the student activity fee funded areas will be receiving their budget documents to make their requests for next year's funding process. This document, I have posted a PDF of it in the Senate channel. There's a place called Senator Documents, and in that folder, there's a place called Senator Meeting Documents. And the one for today's date, I've uploaded a PDF version of this. I'm not going to go through this word for word, but you can see what the schedule is going to look like for our fee process coming up over the next 6 months. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be happening. You can see who's going to be presenting on what days. You'll see what days you're gonna be voting on the recommendations for the fees. I will be doing a presentation during a committee meeting session, two presentations, where I take a 10,000 foot view at the fees. And then I'll also be doing one where we look a little bit more closely at the athletics and student activity fees, because those are the ones that are subject to a little bit more policy, shall I say, if you guys recommend a certain level of funding. So I just want to make sure that you have this. All of the budget or the fee area directors have been provided with this timeline. And so we do get into a very busy budget timeline in the spring semester. And so you will be able to see this. I'm not going to go through it all. You have access to it to be able to review it. But I want to make sure you know what this looks like. And that has been shared campus-wide with those folks and the people concerned. So I look forward to continuing to work with you through this process. It can be confusing and a little bit overwhelming, but those who've been through it before can tell you we make it. We do it every year. And so I have faith in your ability to make it through this. I will tell you my biggest expectation of you throughout the entire process is that you be informed and be prepared. Okay, so those are the two biggest things I'm going to share with you through that budgeting process, and we're going to work with you to make sure. So I will stand for questions if there are any. Otherwise, thank you for your continued work.
Thank you. Any questions for John? All right, thank you so much, John, for your wonderful announcement. A lot of things to cover. I would like to start with roll call again then. Senator Livingston, Senator Hyber, Senator Kabad, Senator Dietrich, Senator Morris, Senator Reyes, Senator Nguyen, Senator Anderson, Senator Zelmer, Senator Cummings, Senator Ide, Senator Hiluka, Senator Isaac, Senator Knauer, Senator Johnson, Senator Atkinson, he left. Senator Stokes, Senator Hillstead, Senator Shawn, Senator Liu, Senator Frost, Senator Wickersham, and finally Senator Aubart, and then last but not least, Senator Nguyen. All right, Vice President Kafli, President Calderon, and Speaker Thapa is here. It is 5:54 p.m. and then I call this meeting adjourned.
That was fun. Should I say, Mr. Speaker, get over here real quick?
We have to talk about it being long. There was a year when we had another week.
No, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna go grab it. Mr. Speaker.
These meetings were great.
You didn't announce.
Yes, I did particularly large. Yes.
It's the one thing, it got a little confusing there, I will say, the meeting got a little bit confusing.
It's a good meeting.
I look forward to voting in favor of the resolution.
Sending me the links, I appreciate it.
I'm gonna move to amend it by changing the commas to semicolons, that's pretty much it. That's my big project amendment right there. You never know. I feel like somebody will stand up and they'll be like, I am opposed to this amendment simply because it is unnecessary. Why do we need to change it? And I'll be like, well, we're already talking about it, so we might as well just vote on it right now.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Nobody, no, and they want our fees. Where's Todd? Did Todd leave? No, I do. You do too.
They have another project that was.
Wait, where's Todd?
Thank you, sorry I can't make it. I'm not worried about it. I know. Yeah.
Wait, did Todd leave? I felt like I was ran a marathon out of this.
What changed it? You! And I said, I told him, I was going to.
Earlier that day, I did my head like. Most of my classes. Oh.
It didn't make it.
Quite a lot. Now I gotta
It's something to talk about. There's already 3 days.
Are you part of that?
One that I'm getting.
You got a couple minutes.
But so since you know these things and you've been taking steps to discuss. What's your plan?
So we're gonna be going, there is a meeting next week. Kimber, do you wanna walk and talk? What we're doing? So there's
Stop by
I'm a very student person, Ben, so I try to get it to you. What I did is I went and knocked on every apartment, there was, I was in a 6 month, there were 6 4-bedroom apartments.
When can I get the design?
Hey,
oh yeah, I just.
Send it when I get off.
I still need to.
anyways, they gave us a discount on every room. One company came out and did all 6 apartments in one day. So, yeah, so, but it was also, I was in Ames, which is 45 minutes from work, so.
Oh, yeah.
Every other browser.
During that, I move out.
Anywho, she's good.
I agree.
Coming to an answer.
Legally no. That helped, and so I suggested